Good morning everyone and welcome to the class. Presently we are doing the chapter Cold War and Non-Aligned Movement, and under this chapter we have discussed about arenas of Cold War in the previous class. And arenas, first of all I told you arenas of Cold War, it means that those areas where crisis and war either occurred or threatened to occur between the alliance system, the Western Alliance and the Eastern Alliance. These two alliances were existing at the time of Cold War. During the Cold War era, these two alliances were there, and we see that in many areas of the world such situation arose in which war and crisis occurred or it threatened to occur between the alliance system, and these areas where all these things happened are known as arenas of Cold War. And we have also discussed that there were so many arenas of Cold War, like Korean crisis, then Vietnam, War of Vietnam, which was done by America, then military intervention in Hungary, then Czechoslovakia, then Afghanistan, on which USSR intervened, militarily intervened. So we have discussed all these things. Then Berlin was also there, and moreover Congo. So all these are known as arenas of Cold War. And what is the utility of this arenas of Cold War? ये जो छोटे मोटे वॉर हो जाते थे, there was loss of life. In these wars also we find that so many people were killed, but just imagine the condition if there was a full-fledged war between the superpowers. In that condition, the loss of life which could have happened was we cannot imagine the number of people who could have lost their life if there is conflict or if there is a direct war between the USA and USSR. So by these arenas of Cold War was going on. Because of Cold War, all these war and conflicts were happening, and in this war and conflicts also people were losing their lives, but the number of people who were losing their lives was very limited. So that is the utility, and that is the justification of Cold War. And then we have also started to discuss the timeline of Cold War, and under this we have discussed how the Marshall Plan was started by US in order to give financial aid for the reconstruction of Europe after the devastating effect of the Second World War on Europe. Then we see that there was Berlin blockade from 1948 to 49, and which the US and its allies helped in airlifting of supplies to the citizens of West Berlin. And then there was American intervention in Vietnam, and that was for a long period of around 21 years. It started from 1954 and it extended up to the year 1975. Then in the year 1955, CENTO was signed. CENTO was previously known as Baghdad Pact, and this CENTO is for Central Asia, that is Middle East. And then we see that in 1965 America intervened in Dominican Republic. That was a trend of the Cold War era. These superpowers, they used to make alliances if they are not they are, if they are thought that there is need of military intervention, they intervened militarily also in smaller countries. So America intervened in Dominican Republic in 1965. Then we see in Czechoslovakia also there was intervention from USSR in the year 1968. And after this, what we find that the relation between the USSR and China started to become tense. That was because of border issue, and there was we can say small level of border conflict, small level of war was also fought between these two countries. And after that the relation of China and America started to grow. And in this regard we have seen how this China, Pakistan and America, this nexus of these three countries started to become very strong in the period from the period 1971. And in this regard, President Nixon, he paid a visit to China in the year 1972. And what we find that there was in 1979 Afghanistan was intervened by Soviet Sangh. And this I told you in the previous class also that this military intervention of USSR in Afghanistan was very important, because it became one of the most important reason for the disintegration of USSR. And we will discuss about this military intervention of USSR in the next class also, because that is your disintegration of USSR. So we will discuss about it in the next class, next chapter. And then what we find that from 1985, what started in USSR, the process, we can say the process of disintegration was started from the year 1985 only, when Gorbachev becomes the president of USSR, and he brings many reforms in the economy, and these reforms were very much tilted towards liberal ideology. So the reforms of Gorbachev were very much responsible for the starting of the process of disintegration of USSR. Then in 1989 a major incident took place, and that was fall of Berlin Wall. This Berlin Wall was indicative of the Cold War. You can see in your book, your chapter starts with the picture of that Berlin Wall only, Berlin Wall. You will see that in the beginning of the second chapter it is given that the breaking of the Berlin Wall. This wall was broken down by the people themselves, and this end of this Berlin Wall was indicative of the end of the Cold War also, because we see that after this incident there was a process of unification of Germany, which was divided into two parts, West Germany and East Germany, after the Second World War. And we see that in the year 1990 unification of Germany take place for the second time. And we see that the process of disintegration in USSR has also been started, and it in the year 1991, 25th December 1991, it was formally ended, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, and thus there was the end of the Cold War. So this was all the timeline of the Cold War, which started in the year 1945 with the end of the Second World War, with the emergence of the two superpowers, and It ended in 1991 with the disintegration of USSR, and in a way we can say that the Cold War was a war of ideology. Both the countries who were representing two opposite ideology, that was liberal capitalism, capitalism and liberal democracy, that was championed by USA, and communism and socialism, that was championed by USSR. So in this war of ideology, what we find that the ideology of capitalism and liberal democracy has won. It was the defeat of the ideology of communism and socialism with the disintegration of USSR. So now we will turn to another most important aspect of Cold War. What we find that one of the most important military feature of the Cold War era was the logic of deterrence. The countries, the superpowers, they were their aim was to become so powerful militarily. They wanted to become so powerful that the another superpower should not even think of attacking the superpower. So in order to become so powerful, what was required? It was required that there must be huge stock of arms. In the absence of arms, they cannot become powerful militarily. The logic of deterrence will not work if there is lack of stock of arms. So during the Cold War era, rivalry was there, conflict was there, tension was there. Though war was not happening, hot war was not there, but rivalry was there, tension was there, conflict was there, and both the superpowers, they were suspicious of each other. They were not believing each other. They were always in the condition of suspicion. वो हमेशा एक दूसरे पर उन्हें डाउट होता था, और they were always very much concerned about their security. They were very much concerned about their superiority also. They wanted to prove their superiority. And what happened that because of this, both the superpowers, they armed themselves to the teeth. बहुत ज़्यादा आर्म्स उन्होंने कलेक्ट किया, and they were always ready for war. Always ready for war. That was very much important, because if that type of situation was not there, then in that case there can be direct conflict between these two superpowers. तो ये एक तरह का we can say it's a vicious cycle. War से बचने के लिए they were collecting so many weapons, especially nuclear weapons, and because of these weapons there was always a kind of threat. What was the threat? Because of these weapons, the threat was there was so many practical threats which were coming because of such a huge stock of weapons which was there with the superpowers. It was the opinion of the superpowers that there may be war, in spite of they want that war should not be there. In spite of their responsible and rational behavior, there may be war. War might occur between the two superpowers. Both the superpowers were aware of this, and what we find that there was calculation. All the time calculation was done by the superpowers कि हमारे पास कितना weapons है, उनके पास कितना weapons है. They were in constant calculating the weapons, the military strength of their own and the rival superpower. So in this calculation, sometimes it may happen that a particular superpower may miscalculate the number of the weapons which is in the possession of the other side. It was very much probable that there may be miscalculation. जितना actually है weapon rival superpower के पास, उससे कम हम समझें कि उसके पास इतना नहीं है, because everything was closed, everything was covered. किसके पास कितना वेपन है, कौन सा वेपन है, किस टेक्नोलॉजी का कितनी एडवांस वेपन है, नो वन वाज नोइंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स ना. तो इसमें मिसकैलकुलेशन वाज वेरी मच, द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ मिसकैलकुलेशन वाज वेरी मच देयर कि कोई भी सुपर पावर दूसरे सुपर पावर के मिलिट्री स्ट्रेंथ को मिसकैलकुलेट कर सकता है. Not only this, so first of all there was कहाँ से threat आ रहा है. First of all we are knowing that both the superpowers were collecting so many stock of arms. They were they wanted to arm themselves to the teeth, and they were doing that also because there was rivalry, because there was mutual suspicion, and because they have to continue this logic of deterrence. So they armed themselves to teeth, but there was threat. And from where this threat was coming? The first threat was coming from miscalculation. We can say that miscalculation can be done by any superpower. And the second thing, what we find, that there might be misunderstanding of the intention of the other side. Many times it happens ki we don't understand, we don't know the real reason of any act. So in the similar way with these superpowers also that can happen, that they can misunderstand the intention of the superpower, rival superpower. So because of this miscalculation, because of this misunderstanding, there can be actual war between these two superpowers. There was probability, इस बात की बहुत ज़्यादा probability उस समय prevail करती थी कि दोनों सुपर पावर्स डायरेक्ट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में आ सकते हैं. ओके, सो not only this, there was also probability of nuclear accident. Any kind of nuclear accident may also occur. And what we find that many times it may happen, sometimes it may also happen that someone may fire off a nuclear weapon by mistake, because it's human to make mistake. There may be some person who is given in charge of the nuclear weapon. There may be some mistake on can be done by that person, and he may fire off a nuclear weapon. Or sometimes it also there is probability of this, that a soldier can mischievously shot off a weapon deliberately to start a war. That is also one of the probabilities. A soldier, he may be not in a good mental condition, and no one is knowing about his mental condition, and he is at such a position that he can misuse his position, and he can be reason behind the starting of a war. So these are the probabilities. इस तरह की चीज़ें हो सकती थी. तो these were the reason which made the superpowers very much conscious about their weapons. And suppose anything like this happens, miscalculation, misunderstanding, the nuclear accident, or if someone fire of a nuclear weapon, or a soldier deliberately starts a war, then in that condition the leader of the rival country will not be able to know that what was the reason. It was done by deliberately, or it was an accident. So in this condition, what will happen, that there will be very much probability of a war. So now what was happening, that the superpowers, US and USSR, they were having so much arms, and now they were fearing that this piling up of arms may cause threat to world peace and security. So what we find, that in order to secure world peace and security, there was effort from the superpowers that there must be limitation or elimination of certain kinds of nuclear and non-nuclear weapons. Yeah, it's not कि every country should have the unlimited power of collecting the nuclear weapons and non-nuclear weapons. There must be some limitation, and some weapons must be eliminated completely. There is difference between limitation and elimination. Elimination means बिल्कुल पूरी तरह से end कर देना, and limitation means it will be there but in certain limits. Okay, so now these superpowers were collaborating with each other in order to limit or eliminate certain kinds of weapons. So we can say that the effort to arms control is limiting the arms. Okay, there were two types of effort, दो तरह के effort हुए, एक arms को limit करना and दूसरा कुछ particular weapons थे जिनको eliminate करना. So arms control is concerned with limiting. Arms control करना, limit करना, and disarmament is elimination. And we see that from the 1960s, the two sides, US and USSR, they started their effort in this direction, in both arms control and disarmament. And they signed three important treaties within a decade, and it is given on your on the last page of your book it is there, you can see it here. There was so many treaties like LTBT, Limited Test Ban Treaty. It was about the nuclear test which was done for the development of nuclear weapons, and the test was banned in the atmosphere, in outer space and underwater. And we see that it was signed by US, UK and USSR, and it started to come in force in the year 1963. Then this was for disarming, क्योंकि हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम टेस्ट पर बैन लगा रहे हैं. It was limited ban. The ban was not complete. The ban was not comprehensive. Later वही comprehensive में change हो जाता है, ये LTBT CTBT बनता है. Okay, तो this was for the disarmament. And then we see that there was a nuclear non-proliferation treaty. This is also very important treaty, and about this we know that at present there are 5 nuclear weapon. Officially there are 5 countries who possess nuclear weapon. The 5 countries which are the permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations, and these 5 countries are US, Russia, China, France and UK. Okay, so what we find that this nuclear non-proliferation treaty, it allows only the nuclear weapon states to have nuclear weapons. Means जिन 5 countries जो officially जिनके पास न्यूक्लियर वेपन है, ओनली दे कैन हैव न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स. उनके अलावे और किसी के पास न्यूक्लियर वेपन नहीं हो सकता है. दिस NPT स्टॉप्स अदर्स फ्रॉम एक्वायरिंग द न्यूक्लियर वेपन, एंड it was written in the treaty that which state will be considered as a nuclear weapon state. The state which has manufactured and exploded a nuclear weapon or other nuclear explosive device prior to 1st January 1967. 1967 के 1 जनवरी के पहले जिन कंट्रीज़ ने अपना न्यूक्लियर वेपन डेवलप कर लिया है, सारे टेस्ट कर चुके हैं, ओनली दोज कंट्रीज़ will be considered as nuclear weapon states. And after that period there was ban on the test. So no country other than these 5 countries will be able to develop or manufacture the nuclear weapon legally. Okay, so in this way these 5 countries are presently officially they are the nuclear weapon countries. And in this regard you must understand the discriminatory nature of this NPT, this nuclear non-proliferation treaty. The aim is to eliminate the nuclear weapon, but that elimination is not for all the countries. 5 countries are kept aside, उनके लिए कुछ अलग रूल है, and other than these 5 countries जो remaining states हैं, remaining countries हैं, उनके लिए कुछ अलग रूल है. So this is highly discriminating treaty which divides the world into nuclear weapon haves and nuclear weapons not haves. So this kind of things are there in the international politics, where we find that only might is right, no rule, no law, nothing is followed. जो भी जिनके पास पावर है बस उनकी ही चलती है. And this is the main concept on which the whole world is working. आपने ऐसे नियम बना दिए कि आपके पास होना तो सही है, लेकिन आपके अलावे कोई और कंट्री उसको डेवलप नहीं कर सकता. So this was the intention कि सिर्फ हम ही पावरफुल बने रहें, but we know that in the later period so many countries like our own country, we have also developed, not officially, these weapons. Then Pakistan, Israel, all these countries are nuclear weapon countries. So we will discuss many more things in the next class.